Hello my lovelies and welcome to the NPC Reviews. Role-playing games have come a long way since their origins as dungeon-crawling, loot-stealing bloodbaths, filtering through different concepts and cultures, creating different iterations and variations. Kind of like rat crocodiliforms, small rat-like herbivore crocodile creatures. Look it up, they were a thing. Anyway, small press or niche concept RPGs are typically referred to as indie RPGs, and today's game is where those two concepts meet. I present Golden Sky Stories. An anime manga style game where you play magical animals that... It's Warm Fuzzies the RPG, let's go. After that letter from France, I didn't want anybody else punching me. The letter was just signed France. In a nutshell, you play as a talking and shape-shifting animal called a henge, often hengyokai, except they're not scary. Except for the tanuki. I mean, just look at her. Terrifying. You live in a small town in rural Japan where you create opportunities to better the lives of the town's residents, be they human, other henge, or local gods, and make things just a little more magical. Golden Sky System runs on a diceless system powered by feeling and wonder. No, really. The core mechanic is attribute score compared to a target number set by the GM. Equal or exceed, and you succeed. However, you can spend points from your feelings and wonder pools to briefly raise or lower your stat. Yes, lower, because sometimes failure is a good thing. For your character, you pick your henge type, often straight from folklore, usually fox, raccoon dog, rabbit, cat, bird, or dog, each of which has their own powers. From there, you pick your weakness or weaknesses, and their attached powers. After that, you assign points to your 4 stats: animal, henge, child, and adult. Then you get your starting amount of wonder and feeling points in your pools. As mentioned before, you alter stats with your points pools. Additionally, you use these to fuel your henge powers and create connections between the PCs and the residents of the town where you live. As mentioned before, the setting is a small town in the Japanese countryside, the essence of which is best described from the book. Only a single rail line passes through it. A 2-car train comes every hour, and no more. In front of the station are a row of shops not seen anywhere else. Many of the roads around town are narrow, too small for cars to pass. Some of them are mere dirt paths used by cats and rabbits more than people. You can see open fields here and there. The rice paddies outnumber the houses. If you look into the distance, you'll see only mountains and trees. Narrow rivers flow from mountains, ponds gathering into one river. The water flows in, the water flows away. There are temples and shrines, empty and quiet. Bamboo grows filled with whispering wind. There are endless fields of pampas grass, flower beds, fields of lotus flowers and clover. There are ponds with lotus flowers, footpaths with blooming amaryllis, and stone walls sprouting morning glories. The mountains retain their caps of white snow even when the spring comes to town. The sky seems endless. At night there are no streetlights. Here the moon and the stars shine brightly on the town. There are only a handful of traffic lights in the town. The tallest building is a 3-story school. The town is full of sounds. The sounds of leaping fish, of playing children, of the mailman's motorcycle, of the print shop's spinning machines. There are sounds of dogs, cats, birds, and insects. There are sounds of flowing water, blowing wind, and falling rain. Here the other living things outnumber the people. It's more than a little idealized, without some of the ills that often afflict a small town, and folkloric. After all, magical creatures live here as well, and that's okay. It's the kind of place where you make warm memories, the kind you might have for your own hometown. The specific of what's where and who's whose are up to you. You can use the default Hitsusuna town, or you can build your own town in any kind of rural and isolated place you like. One thing the author brings up is the idea that some folks might be uncomfortable using a modern, real, or heavily inspired by real, Japanese town as a setting, or exotic locale for an RPG, as it might be offensive. To which the author and company say, don't worry about it. It's not something they would find offensive. They use real-world locales they would consider exotic in their own RPGs. To which I add, just don't turn things and characters into caricatures and stereotypes, and you should be good. Another thing of note is that on a mechanical level, you don't really advance or level up in this game. Sure, the connections in their levels you made become memories for later use at the end of a game, and with narrator permission you can change your weaknesses, but that's it. Your core powers are fixed, and once you assign your stats, they never grow. So for those of you used to leveling or other forms of character advancement, Golden Sky Stories might leave you dry in this regard. What makes Golden Sky Stories stand out and cements its place in the indie niche are its stakes. While other RPGs have high stakes, be it that defeating the Dark Lord of your fantasy land, or getting enough to get by while sticking it to the man in your cyberpunk cityscape, this game has lower stakes, and that's where the warm fuzzies come in. Instead of the fates of worlds and peoples, it's the feelings of your friends or potential friends that you're trying to save. Whether that's consoling a friend who is moving away, a kitsune who doesn't want to admit she's lonely, or helping two friends who get into a silly argument and make up. And that's the core of Golden Sky Stories. Small stakes and intimate moments that make you smile and that you will remember for some time. The game does have a bit of a child focus, but this does not preclude the possibility of romance or other more mature options. The sample local gods is rumored to have had a human husband after all. Just be careful or you might end up with...
I have more in common with a dog than I have with you.
I love dogs. I've always loved dogs.
On a more serious note, the art in this book is that cutesy moe style of anime and manga, and for the most part it's good and adorable, except for this one here. Henge's human form ages range from 8 to 18, despite what their age and their animal form is, and Koro the dog here is listed as 11 years old in human form. While, yes, this isn't the worst thing a quick googling of the internet will give you.
I'm disgusted and repulsed and I can't look away.
It's out there enough I thought to mention it. I do it for you. Related to this, if you like the art and concepts, the mangaka Ike, who did the art, has a comic called Nekomusume Michikusa Nikki that touches on a lot of the same concepts with the same kind of setting. Warning though, the humor is not always wholesome, ranging into the raunchy with its token lech, a kappa, making unwanted advances on the prepubescent looking cat girl, along with other things. As before, I just want you, my lovelies, to be aware of what's going on. Golden Sky Stories is a cute and fun game with an emphasis on the RP part of RPG, focusing on feeling and personal stories over action and combat. It definitely fills a unique position in the indie RPG scene. However, in my estimation, the focus on small personal stories over large narratives and its lack of character advancement doesn't lend itself to long campaigns. Definitely more of an episodic thing. To me, this is a good palate cleanser kind of game. You know, you've defeated the wizardess with the anger issues and saved all of time, and now you can stop, catch your breath, refresh with some adorable, warm-feeling talking animal shenanigans. Then next week, you're back to adventuring your way to glory. Alternately, this game is good for bringing people, folks who like anime or online RPing, into the hobby. It's a simple system without having to learn about dice right off the bat, and a setting without a lot of lore. It's a good game to get your feet wet with. If you hadn't guessed, I recommend Golden Sky Stories and its supplements. It's warm, fuzzy, and magical. It's a soothing poultice on my wounds, old and new. That's all for today, and until next time, fare thee well, my lovelies.